I knew something was wrong the moment my mother asked me to sit down. Not come in. Not have some coffee, just sit. My father stood behind the couch, hands folded, eyes fixed on a spot above my head like he was rehearsing a speech he no longer believed in. "We need to talk about your savings," my mother said. I let out a short laugh before I could stop myself. That sounds serious. My sister Isabella didn't look up from her phone. She was scrolling, relaxed, already bored. Right then, before anything else, I need to be clear about one thing. The story you are about to hear is a fictional work created by the writing team of the channel Revenge Pulse, inspired by real-life situations to convey lessons about family, emotion, and human values. All characters and events are illustrative. My father cleared his throat. We accessed the joint emergency account. I felt my shoulders tense. Why my mother twisted her wedding ring. To help your sister. Isabella smiled, still not looking at me. How much I asked. My father hesitated. That pause told me everything. $115,000, he said quietly. The room went silent. Then I laughed again, louder this time, sharp enough to surprise even me. That's almost all of it, I said. You didn't help her. You emptied it. My mother's voice wavered. Sophia, please don't react like this. You're stable. You have a good career. Isabella needed housing. Isabella finally looked up. It's not like you were going to starve. I opened my banking app with shaking fingers. The number confirmed what they'd already decided without me. That account was for emergencies. I said, medical emergencies, not real estate experiments. My father's jaw tightened. Legally, we were authorized. That word legally hit harder than the amount. So this was already done. I said, you didn't ask. You informed me. My mother stepped closer. Family takes care of family. I looked at Isabella. Did you ask them to do this? She shrugged. They offered. I didn't force anyone. But you accepted. I said. She smiled again. Because I knew you'd land on your feet. You always do. That was the moment something shifted. Not anger, clarity. I stood up. You didn't take money. I said. You took my future and decided it was optional. My father reached out. Sophia, don't make this bigger than it needs to be. I picked up my coat. You already did. As I walked toward the door, my mother called after me, her voice breaking. We thought you'd understand. I didn't turn around. If you've ever been told you were strong so someone else could be careless, you'll understand why I didn't say another word. Sometimes the quiet after a betrayal is where the real story begins, and if this moment feels uncomfortably familiar, you're not alone. I didn't make it to my car before my phone rang. Sophia, my mother said, breathless, please come back inside. We didn't finish talking. You finished, I said. I was just the last person to hear about it. My father took the phone from her. You're overreacting. That word again. Calm, measured, final. You took $115,000 without my consent. I said. What part of that is an overreaction? You weren't using it. He replied. It was sitting there. It was waiting. I said. There's a difference. When I went back inside, Isabella was stretched across the armchair like nothing had happened. She didn't look nervous. She looked annoyed. Why are you acting like this is some kind of crime, she said. People help their siblings all the time. People ask. I said. They don't take. My mother stepped between us. We raised you to be generous. You raised me to be responsible. I said. And now you're punishing me for it. My father folded his arms. You always land on your feet. Isabella doesn't. That's because you keep catching her. I said. And you keep pushing me. Isabella scoffed. So now I'm a burden. No, I said. You're a choice. One they keep making at my expense. My mother's eyes filled with tears. Why are you making this about sides? Because you already picked one. I said. You just want me to pretend you didn't. My father's voice hardened. We did what we thought was best for this family. I nodded slowly. Then you should be honest about what that means. Isabella stood up. I needed this opportunity, and I needed my future. I said, but only one of us mattered. No one argued after that. They didn't need to. The silence told me everything I'd been pretending not to see for years. I picked up my phone, my coat, and my dignity, and this time, no one tried to stop me. I was halfway home when my phone started vibrating again. This time, it wasn't my parents. A notification popped up from Isabella's social media. I didn't open it at first. I already knew what it would be. She never missed an opportunity to frame herself as the center of a story. I opened it anyway. There she was, standing in front of a townhouse, sunlight hitting her face just right. The caption read, "New chapter. Feeling blessed. Grateful for family who believes in me." My stomach tightened. The comments were worse. "So proud of you. Your parents raised you right. You're so lucky to have a sister like Sophia." My phone buzzed again. A text from my aunt. "I heard you helped Isabella with her place. That was very generous of you." I didn't respond. Another message followed. This one from a cousin I barely spoke to. "Wish I had a sister like you." I pulled over and stared at the screen until the words blurred. They didn't just take my money. They handed me a role and expected me to play it quietly. When I finally got home, my mother called again. "Did you see Isabella's post?" she asked carefully. "Yes," I said. "She didn't mean anything by it. People are just excited for her. People think I volunteered." I said, "You let them." My mother sighed. "It's easier this way. No questions. No drama. So I'm the solution again," I said, "the silent one." "That's not fair," she replied. "You know how sensitive Isabella is." I laughed, low and tired. She's sensitive when she doesn't get what she wants. There was a pause. Then my father's voice came through the line. "We expect you to be mature about this." "I am," I said. "I'm just not pretending anymore." I hung up before either of them could answer. By the time I went inside, my phone was face down on the counter. I didn't need to read any more praise built on something that was never freely given. I didn't plan to go looking for anything. I was resetting my email settings late that night, clearing old spam, when I noticed a folder I didn't recognize. It had synced automatically months ago, back when I helped my mother set up her new phone. The subject line stopped me cold. "She won't notice until it's done." I opened it. My mother's name was at the top. Isabella's below it. "We need to move quickly." My mother had written, "Sophia has been distracted lately. If we wait too long, she might ask questions." My chest tightened as I scrolled. Isabella replied first. "She won't. She always assumes we wouldn't do something like that to her." Another message from my father followed. Short, careful. "We're authorized. The bank confirmed it. This is the safest way." I read the thread again, then a third time. This wasn't a sudden decision. This wasn't panic or desperation. This was planning, timing, confidence. My phone rang while I was still staring at the screen. "What are you doing?" Isabella asked, her tone sharp. "I'm reading," I said. A pause. Then, "Reading what the conversation where you all decided I wouldn't matter," I said. She exhaled loudly. "You're twisting this." "No," I said. "You counted on me being quiet." My mother cut in, her voice strained. "Sophia, please." That email was private. It involved my money. I said, "My future." "That makes it my business." My father spoke next. "We didn't think you'd take it this way." "That's because you didn't think about me at all," I said. Isabella snapped. "You act like we plotted against you." "You did," I said. "You just called it family." Silence followed. Not guilt, not apology. Just the sound of something exposed. My mother finally whispered, "We thought you'd understand later." I closed the email. "You didn't plan for me understanding." I said. You planned for me accepting. I ended the call before they could respond. That was the moment my anger cooled into focus. If they believed I wouldn't notice, they had underestimated me, and I stopped feeling hurt the second I realized I no longer needed their approval to see the truth. By morning, my emotions had settled into something colder and more precise. I didn't call my parents. I didn't confront Isabella again. I opened my laptop and did what I had always done when something didn't add up. I checked the county records. The address came up quickly. West Mesa, not Tempe proper. A quiet neighborhood, mid-range, attractive to first-time buyers and amateur investors. The purchase price was listed clearly $290,000. The date of closing was less than a week ago. I exhaled slowly. The numbers didn't match the story they'd told me. I clicked deeper. The deed showed Isabella as the owner. No co-owners. No intention of shared living. Then I saw the listing history. 3 days after closing, the property was relisted. I stared at the screen. Then I picked up my phone and dialed the number attached to the listing. Good morning. This is Chloe Ramirez, a woman answered, brisk and professional. How can I help you? I'm calling about the townhouse on Willow Ridge Drive, I said, keeping my voice steady. Is it still available? It is, she said. The seller is very motivated. How long has the owner lived there? I asked. A brief pause. Then a small laugh. She hasn't. It was purchased as an investment. My grip tightened. An investment? Yes, Chloe said. She mentioned it was a short-term flip. Family funded. Very confident. Confident about what I asked. Turning a quick profit. She replied. She listed it at $340,000. For the area? It's ambitious, but she seemed sure. I thanked her and ended the call. Family funded. I drove straight to Isabella's apartment. She opened the door with an irritated expression. You again. Why is the house back on the market? I asked. She crossed her arms. I told you. I'm still deciding. I spoke to the realtor. I said. She says you never planned to live there. Isabella's eyes flashed. You went behind my back. I followed the money. I said. It led straight to the truth. She scoffed. So what if it's an investment you make investments all the time, not with stolen capital? I said. She stepped closer. It wasn't stolen. Mom and Dad agreed. They agreed to help you buy a home. I said. Not bankroll a flip. Her voice sharpened. I needed an opportunity, and I needed consent. I said. She looked away first. That told me everything the paperwork already had. My mother called the next morning, her voice thin and rushed. Sophia, we need you to come over, she said. Now. When I arrived, my father was sitting at the kitchen table, his hands wrapped around a mug he wasn't drinking from. His face looked older than it had a week ago. What happened? I asked. My mother slid a stack of papers toward me. There was a gap. I flipped through them. Loan disclosures, payment schedules, fine print my parents didn't understand but had signed anyway. You borrowed money, I said slowly. My father nodded. $45,000. I felt my stomach drop. From who? A private lender. My mother whispered. Isabella couldn't qualify on her own. The words stacked on top of each other in my head. Private lender. Couldn't qualify. Borrowed anyway. What are the terms? I asked. My father swallowed. 11% interest. Balloon payment in 24 months. I stared at him. Your retirement income can't support that. My mother's eyes filled. We thought it would be temporary. Isabella said the house would sell quickly. And if it doesn't, I said. No one answered. My father shifted in his chair. We didn't want to worry you. You risked your home. I said. That's not worry. That's disaster. My mother reached for my hand. She needed us. And I didn't, I said, pulling back. You just decided I'd survive the damage. My father's voice cracked. You always do. That sentence hit harder than the loan. Before I could respond, my father pressed a hand to his chest. His breathing turned shallow, uneven. "Sophia," my mother said sharply. "Call for help." The ambulance ride blurred past me. At the hospital, a doctor explained it was a stress-induced cardiac episode, manageable. A warning. "Stress needs to be minimized," the doctor said. I almost laughed. In the waiting room, my mother collapsed into a chair. "We were just trying to help her succeed." "You didn't help?" I said quietly. "You handed her a weapon and pointed it at yourselves." My father joined us later, pale and shaken. "We didn't think it would come to this." "That's the problem," I said. "You never think past what Isabella wants." My phone buzzed with a message from her. "Any update? I have meetings today." I stared at the screen, then turned it face down. For the first time, I wasn't afraid of what would happen if I stopped protecting everyone else. The inspection report arrived 2 days later. Isabella called me before my parents had a chance to explain. "There's a problem," she said, breathless. "A big one." I didn't respond. "The foundation," she continued. "The inspector says there's structural damage, water intrusion. Repairs could be $30,000 to $40,000. That's what happens when you rush," I said, her voice sharpened. "This isn't the time for lectures." "It's exactly the time," I replied. She lowered her voice. "We need to figure out a solution." I said. She hesitated. "You know what I mean." I went back to my parents' house that evening. My father sat rigidly on the couch, pale but upright. My mother hovered nearby, folding and unfolding the same napkin. "She can't sell it like this," my mother said quickly. "No one will buy." "So, the plan failed," I said. My father rubbed his temples. "She didn't know about the foundation. She didn't want to know," I said. My phone buzzed again. "Isabella, calling this time." I put it on speaker. "Sophia," she said, trying for calm. "If we can cover the repairs, the house will still turn a profit." "With whose money?" I asked. There was a pause. "We're family." My mother flinched. My father looked down. "No," I said. "Family doesn't mean unlimited access." "You're really going to let this fall apart?" Isabella snapped. "After everything Mom and Dad did for you, they didn't do this for me," I said. "They did it to me." My father finally spoke. "We can't borrow more." Isabella's tone shifted instantly. "Then maybe Sophia could—" "No," I said. "That answer doesn't change." Silence followed. Heavy. Final. My mother reached for my arm. "If this comes out, we'll lose everything. You already risked everything." I said. "You just didn't want to see it." Isabella exhaled sharply. "So that's it. You're abandoning us." I stood up. "I'm not abandoning anyone. I'm refusing to be sacrificed." When I walked out, no one followed. For the first time, the weight wasn't on my shoulders alone, and the truth had nowhere left to hide. I asked everyone to meet at the lender's office the following afternoon. My parents arrived first, quiet and tense. Isabella came last, heels clicking, confidence forced into place like armor. She smiled at the loan officer, nodded at the realtor, then looked at me as if this were another negotiation she could talk her way through. "Let's get this over with," she said. "I have a contractor call after this." I didn't sit down right away. "I asked for this meeting," I said, "because there are assumptions being made that need to stop." The loan officer glanced between us. "We're here to discuss repayment options." "We're here for clarity," I said, "about where the money came from and who carries the risk." Isabella scoffed. "Everyone knows that already." "Do they?" I asked, and finally took my seat. I slid a folder across the table. Inside were bank statements, account timelines, and one simple explanation. The account my parents accessed was not my primary savings. I said, "It was a decoy." My mother's breath caught. My father froze. Isabella laughed once. "That's not funny." I wasn't joking. I said, My actual savings were protected months ago. The realtor frowned. So the funds used for the down payment came from an account I intentionally limited, I said, because I suspected this would happen. Isabella stood up. You let us believe you were ruined. I let you believe what you were willing to do, I said. There's a difference. My father's voice shook. You knew I noticed the questions, I said. The sudden interest in my finances. The way Isabella talked about shortcuts. Isabella pointed at me. You manipulated us. No, I said evenly. I gave you the opportunity to stop. You didn't. The loan officer cleared his throat. This changes the structure of responsibility. That's the point, I said. Isabella pursued a speculative investment using money she didn't earn, while my parents took on risk they didn't understand. My mother whispered, We thought you'd save us. I'm not here to rescue, I said. I'm here to set boundaries. Isabella's voice cracked. So you're just going to watch everything fall apart. I'm going to watch everyone face the consequences they agreed to, I said. And if this sounds harsh, remember who decided I was expendable. I stood, closing the folder. If you're listening to this and you've ever been told you were strong so others could be careless, understand this strength doesn't mean surrender. No one argued. They couldn't. For the first time, the power in the room wasn't inherited or assumed. It was earned, and it was finally mine. A year later, my mother asked if I would come by for dinner, not because there was a crisis, not because someone needed saving, just dinner. I'd like that, I said, and meant it. My parents' house was quieter now, smaller. Somehow, my father moved more carefully. My mother spoke more slowly, choosing her words instead of filling the air with them. We're managing, my father told me as he set down the plates. The payments are on schedule. I know, I said. You've been consistent. That word mattered to him. Isabella wasn't there. She hadn't been for months. My mother noticed me glance at the empty chair. She's working late, she said, at the bank. I nodded. It was the first job she'd kept longer than a few weeks. She asked about you. My mother added quietly, didn't know how to call. Then she's learning, I said. After dinner, my father handed me a folder. We wanted you to see this. Inside were updated statements, budgeting notes, handwritten reminders, proof, not promises. I'm proud of you, I said, and this time, it didn't cost me anything to say it. As I stood to leave, my mother touched my arm. Do you think we can ever fix this? I didn't pull away. We're fixing it, I said, slowly, honestly. At home later, I reviewed a contract for my firm's newest client, the business I'd delayed, not lost, the future I protected. If this story feels familiar, if you've ever been expected to sacrifice quietly because you were capable, I want you to know something. You're allowed to keep what you build. You're allowed to say no. And sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do for yourself and for the people who hurt you is to stop carrying what was never meant to be yours.